Welcome back to another video on the channel today. Today, as always, we're back in the seat and today we're back talking about Wrexham Football Club, and finally we can say we have kicked off our League One season. We of course played Wycombe Wanderers at home on Sky Sports on Saturday night, and we all know the result by now. Wrexham got the win 3-2. We're going to be analysing the game, having a look at what I thought went well for Wrexham, what didn't go so well for us, and just the overall occasion, and looking ahead to our big Carabao Cup game tomorrow against Sheffield United. But before we get going in today's video, if you're looking for all the best Wrexham content on YouTube, this is the place to be. We are so close to hitting 25,000 subscribers. We're 120 off, I think it is, at the time of recording. So if you're new watching this and you're looking for Wrexham content on YouTube, this is the place to be. We'll be bringing you all the latest news coming out of the football club, general content regarding Wrexham in the upcoming season, so this is the place to be. Get down there and click the red subscribe button. Any support, of course, is massively appreciated. And let's get talking about our 3-point weekend against Wycombe. So for the first time in 7,036 days, Wrexham Football Club played a game in League One, of course, on Saturday night at 5:30 on Sky Sports for everyone to see around the world. What an opening day it was for us. A 3-2 win against Wycombe Wanderers, who are a very well established League One side. They're a team that are pushing for playoffs most seasons, and of course it's the first game of the season. You can't really take too much out of the first opening games of seasons, but we definitely saw some promising signs from Wrexham. And yeah, there's a lot of topics we need to be talking about today. And the first topic I want to be talking about, and I think it's only right that we do talk about the man of the match and the goal scorer, putting in an early goal of the season contender, Jack Marriott. A very lively performance from Marriott, I thought, on Saturday, of course, capping it off with a goal, and just an overall really promising performance, something we didn't see Marriott have too many of last season. Of course, he came in from Fleetwood Town in the January transfer window. He was a late addition, and I thought, you know, the 17 games he played, he only started 3, I think, scored 1 goal against Forest Green, and we were yet to see the best of Marriott in the 17 games that he did feature. I think, of course, with Mullins' injury and Sam Dolby not being, you know, the striker that complements Ollie Palmer well, everything was leading to Jack Marriott to start that game, and of course he was selected by Parky. I think he had a good pre-season, and he definitely deserved to have that opportunity in the starting 11, and I think Marriott took his opportunity really well. I was really impressed by his performance. Of course, he could have had a double in the game had it not been for that Nathan Bishop save in the second half, and I think a double was definitely deserved. I think he had 4 shots in the game, 2 on target. He just looked a different Jack Marriott as to what we saw last season, which of course I'm not complaining about. He was full of energy until the minute he came off, still running, still pressing, so you know, I think we can only just take our hats off and say what a performance it was from Jack Marriott, and we can only, of course, say let's hope that this does continue in the games to come. I think talking about Jack Marriott, I think, you know, confidence for a player like Marriott, of course, as I've touched on, in the January transfer window, he came in, you know, you sign a late player in January and, you know, you're not really expecting him to immediately come into starting 11, hit the ground running, feel what it's like, you know, to lead the line for Wrexham. Of course, we were going for promotion then, so there was a lot of pressure on Jack Marriott. I think, could that have maybe got to him? I'm not going to say it would have, because obviously he's, you know, played for Derby County, Peterborough United, all those teams that are pressing at the top end of the tables when he's been at the club, so I don't really think you can side towards that. Fleetwood, he didn't really have a successful stay, you know, he was wanting to leave the club, and Wrexham coming in, it was a fresh start, and coming into the starting 11 now, I hope Phil Parkinson does give him a string of games in the starting 11, because we've seen the signs are there for Marriott. He's done it before. He scored, you know, multiple goals for Peterborough United and Derby County, so there's a player in Jack Marriott. There is, you know, the confidence that needs to be unlocked, and I think with a string of games in the starting 11, he could be a good goal scorer for us. And just to further add on, of course, Marriott being that January transfer signing, you know, he only featured for 328 minutes last season in League Two, so I also think a huge advantage that Jack Marriott has had going into this season, he's had that full pre-season under his belt, which would obviously help him, and featuring heavily in pre-season for the games that we had here against Hanley Town and Fleetwood Town, and of course in the States against Bournemouth, Vancouver Whitecaps and Chelsea. So he's got that confidence under his belt, he's got the minutes under his belt, he scored against Chelsea, so that will do his confidence good. And I think he definitely looked a confident player to what we saw last season, you know, leading the line really well, not afraid to have a shot, not afraid to make those runs. And I really do hope this season we can see the best of Jack Marriott, because as fans we always love to see players flourish in a Wrexham shirt, and I think it would be very good, because Marriott, we've said it already, he didn't really kick on last season, but it would be brilliant, and I would love it now if we could see possibly a 10 plus goal season from Jack Marriott, and just overall for him to play a big part in the squad as we look to do the unthinkable task of getting promotion to the Championship. Another player I would like to talk upon, it's a new signing, it's George Dobson, a player that really impressed me on Saturday. He slots into that midfield really well, considering, you know, he's a new signing, he's a Wrexham debutant at the Racecourse Ground. The occasion, he was playing like he was playing in the park. This player oozes class. George Dobson is a very classy player. I thought overall George Dobson's performance was a solid 8 out of 10. He broke the play up really well in the midfield and won the majority of the duels and the tackles that he was facing against the opposition midfield. 9 ball recoveries, and of course nearly won 100% of the ground duels that he did face. So a really promising debut from George Dobson. Of course he got that yellow card, but we were notified by all the Charlton fans saying about his discipline, so that's something that I think we can expect a lot of this season from George Dobson. A lot of yellow cards, but if he's going to put in performances like that every week, I have no issue with that at all. From a fan's perspective, of course, we're not complaining. We've just seen the signs of George Dobson being a really good midfielder. If we're in Parky's boots right now, it makes his life a whole lot harder. Of course, we've seen the signing of Ollie Rathbone a couple of days ago for a record transfer fee. This makes his life so much more harder because, in my opinion, George Dobson has done nothing to get dropped in the next league game. Andy Cannon, maybe, but then, you know, Dobson's a nailed-on start, in my opinion, for Bolton Wanderers on Sunday. You've then got the question, if you're Phil Parkinson, who are you starting in that midfield on Sunday? In a big game, Bolton Wanderers away on Sky Sports, it's going to be a nearly 30,000 crowd. Who are you starting? Are you going for Cannon? Are you going for Rathbone? Are you going for George Evans? Because it is going to be a very tough task to pick a consistent midfield two. Like I said, Dobson has done nothing to get dropped on Sunday. I think what we can expect from Dobson is for him to be a big game player. Of course, opening game in League One, he's brought that class to the midfield. He's performed in the Carabao Cup away at Manchester United. He's built for the big occasions, I think. He just is that player that is going to bring that class and that composure, I'm going to say, in the big games when we do need it most, which sometimes we might have lacked last season in the midfield. But like I said, he definitely added that League One quality to our midfield yesterday. And for the older Wrexham fans out there, you will know who I'm talking about now. He gives me shades of Jay Harris, of course, a lot better player. That's no disrespect to Harris, but, you know, he gives me that shade of Jay Harris, loves a 50-50. I can imagine Dobson this season putting one right into the top corner from about 25-30 yards. So, big admirer of Jay Harris when he played for Wrexham. So, to have a player similar to him is good to see. And the final player that I do want to talk on is our brick at the back, Owen O'Connell. I thought O'Connell had a really excellent first half. Second half, maybe not so much. He might have been at fault for the second goal, but we can't comment on that too much considering we came out with 3 goals on our League One debut against a very solid team. Of course, you know, it's not ideal conceding 2, and in my opinion, 2 really avoidable goals, but you can't do anything about it now. But I thought O'Connell, that first half, he was a mountain at the back, an absolute man mountain. He won 100% of his aerial duels and 100% of his ground duels. And not to forget that heart in mouth back pass moment in the first half, but apart from that, he was phenomenal. And I was just watching him, you know, just Owen O'Connell for a long period of time, just thinking, he is brilliant, he's absolutely brilliant. You know, you'd see a ball coming in the air and Owen O'Connell's there to head it away, or, you know, when it comes on the ground, he's there for that tackle and he always comes out on top. He didn't lose a single duel on Saturday, so all these people saying he had a good first half, shaky second half, in my opinion, overall, it was a very good performance from Owen O'Connell. Of course, it's the first game of the season, they're getting back into the groove of things, but considering O'Connell's been that National League player for us, the step up he's taken from the National League to League 2, League 2 to League 1, I think Owen O'Connell is just going from strength to strength and he's only getting better as a defender, and I think that's all credit down to the players he's playing alongside at the back and of course Phil Parkinson. Yeah, another thing I do want to talk on is the lineup selection. Now this had a lot of people intrigued in the run up to the game. A lot of questions are being asked on social media. Who would you start in the midfield? How many of the key players that, you know, won us promotion last season would play? Would we see any of the new midfielders come into action? And which strikers would form that front 2 for us? And it's just the 2 changes from our promotion winning game against Forest Green Rovers, of course. Dobson in for George Evans in that midfield and Marriott in for Mullin. We all expected Paul Mullin to be out, but Dobson coming in for Evans, I think that's definitely, you know, understandable. Dobson played a lot of minutes in pre-season. I think he was like the second highest player to play the most minutes in that pre-season tour in the US and over here in the UK, so I think we all expected that. Marriott coming in for Mullin I think is understandable because, like I said before, you need a striker that's going to complement what Ollie Palmer does, and Sam Dolby is not that player. Stephen Fletcher again is not really that player. You know, they're 3 target men. You know, we only had Waters, Marriott and Bickerstaff who were going to be those, you know, players to get on the flick-ons, you know, that are going to offer that consistent press to the defence, and I think it was understandable that Marriott was selected. I think he was the better one of the three. Of course, Billy Waters didn't feature at all, and Jake Bickerstaff's involvement across pre-season was very, very minimal, so I think this was nailed on that Marriott was going to start. And of course, on the topic of signs, we've made all these big signings: Dan Scarr, Ollie Rathbone. We knew Rathbone wasn't going to be in the squad, but we've made a couple of really big signings, and I can fully understand why Phil Parkinson has not immediately brought all of them in and kept with a lineup that has brought us success over the past couple of seasons. However, I've just said about the signings coming in. I think versus Sheffield United, of course, we've got them tomorrow in the Carabao Cup. I think there will be a lot of changes made, and don't be surprised, in my opinion, if Parky does opt for that 8 changes, 9 changes, because, I don't think this would have been possible last season or maybe the season before, because, of course, we want to give it a good go. We want to get revenge on Sheffield United from that FA Cup saga that we had a couple of seasons ago, but, we'll want to go out there, we'll want to make an impression. And I think, despite me saying we're going to make 7-8 changes, which I think is definitely possible, you're going to see the likes of Dan Scarr, Ollie Rathbone, Lewis Brun all get run-outs. It's not as if we're going to be fielding a really young team, inexperienced, who aren't going to play up to the occasion. Our backup players and our signings that we've brought in are more than capable of pulling off the upset against Sheffield United tomorrow. So it will be interesting to see all these new signings play, and of course, you've got the players looking back at the matchday squad versus Wycombe on the first game of the season. Will Boyle, Lewis Brunt, Jacob Mendy and James Jones were all the notable players who missed out on the matchday squad. 3 of those have played massive parts in our season last season in League 2 and are all still very valuable players to this squad. And I think that really does just put emphasis on the incredible depth that we now have in every single position, apart from strike, I'm going to say. We've beefened up on that defence. We've got Lewis Brunt in, we've got Dan Scarr in. We've made some really top signings, and I think this was definitely something Phil Parkinson was aiming to do this season. It's understandable that he's brought in those defenders. He's beefened up on the midfield, added that depth into the midfield, which I think is only going to do us good going into this season. And, people can moan at saying, why have you brought another midfielder in? We didn't need one. It's not like we're completely doomed when it comes to our striker options. I think Fletcher's proved that he could still be a starter in this division. Mullin is going to be Mullin. He's going to come back scoring goals. Palmer looks sharp. Marriott looks sharp. And if the worst comes to worst, we've got Bickerstaff, who I'm sure could put in a really big shift up front, and you've got Sam Dolby did that nice link-up play. But if we are to bring a new striker in, which looks very, very possible, I think Dolby's game time could be very limited this season. There could possibly be a move away from Wrexham for Sam Dolby, whether it be in this transfer window or in January. Because if you're looking at, Michael Smith has been the player from Sheffield Wednesday, has been rumoured to move to Wrexham, and good depth in that striker role if we are to get Smith in. But I think that just does highlight, of course, the depth that we've got in every single position now, and how good of a transfer window it was by Phil Parkinson and the team at Wrexham. And yeah, the final topic I want to be talking about is the atmosphere. What an occasion this was. There felt like there was just a real vibe around the stadium. There was a good buzz pre-kick-off in the game. The atmosphere was brilliant in the game. You had the tifos in the Tech End and the Mould Road. A lot of singing coming from the Tech End. The Mould Road love getting involved. If we could get, 4 sides of the racecourse all singing at once, it would be an absolutely brilliant atmosphere, and it would make it hell for the opposition. But wishful thinking. 13,214 was the attendance, our highest attendance in 44 years since Newcastle United in 1980. So Wrexham continued to break these records. It just does show, where the club is going, the trajectory. A lot of people saying how much could Wrexham bring into the racecourse ground now if we were to have a bigger stadium. I think that just does show 13,200 on the opening day. You think when we're going to play, a Birmingham City or a Huddersfield Town, I'm going to say I think Wrexham could get 20,000 in League One. I think that's definitely possible. If you were to have that bigger stadium, you'd have more people travelling in to come and watch Wrexham. It'd make it easier to get tickets. I'm sure there's a long, long list of people who want to get inside the racecourse ground and, of course, who want to get season tickets. So we've got a good future ahead, and, of course, the day was capped off with a win and, of course, 3 points. So yeah, that is it for today's video. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. What did you think of the opening day? What are your thoughts going into tomorrow against Sheffield United? Will we get our revenge, or will Sheffield United beat us once again? I really hope we beat them, because although it's not really, as big as the FA Cup game, but we still want to beat them. They're a team that have just come down from the Premier League. They've got an incredible squad. Any Welshies watching this will know we've got Kiefer Moore playing against us, so he'll be a handful, and I'm hoping Owen O'Connell can do a job on him. But, they've got Gustavo Hamid, Callum O'Hare. They've got really good players in that squad, and I think they'll make a couple of changes, but nonetheless, it's going to be a tough game, but a challenge that we're going to relish and good experience for our players. So yeah, until then, take care guys, up the town.